All right, we're live. We're back, party people. This is Sunny Ray. It's the Sunny Ray Show. Thanks to our sponsors, Raz Rocket and GTM Ventures. Today, I'm joined by Richard. Richard and I met in, I want to say, Dubai. Was it
Yeah.
2 years ago? He was super, super kind to me. I remember I was just trying to figure out my Telegram game, and he just patiently sat there outside of an Animoca event and showed me the way. So, how are you doing today, Richard?
I'm doing great, man. It's a lifetime. I mean, 2 years is a long time, but especially in crypto, it's a lifetime. So much has happened since that like first interaction, and it's been really awesome for us to stay connected, reconnect now, and be able to even talk like this. So yeah, man, great to be here.
Cool. So kick us off. I mean, I know when we met, you were not working with Masari. As I mentioned, I've known the founder for quite some time, but take us into, or tell us a little bit about Masari before we get into your story and kind of all the other good stuff.
Yeah. So Masari is your business intelligence gateway into Web3. So for a lot of people out there who are familiar with Bloomberg, we're essentially the Web3 crypto version of that. So providing business insights on all things Web3, work with a lot of institutions, funds, protocols. People know us for our research, but we do a tremendous more than that. So it's been awesome being here, and happy to dive into that later.
Cool, man. So with that, I guess, like I said before the interview, I love to start with people's backstories. I was reading all about your backstory. It's quite interesting. So do you want to maybe shed some light on that? Where you from? What was your kind of your worldview before the skies parting moment? The aha moment with crypto and Bitcoin and all that.
For sure, man. So originally born and raised in Louisiana, ended up going to Tulane in New Orleans for college, and then while I was there, I was a dual sport athlete, played Division I football and baseball, graduated in business, and then kind of like went the traditional route, doing wealth management at Merrill Lynch, and then got more into the entrepreneurial side of things, got the entrepreneurial itch. And so I had my own startup that I ran for a while. And then in 2018, I joined an AI startup where I kicked off like my sales career. And on the very first day, my boss asked me, "Hey, what do you know about Bitcoin?" I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Cryptocurrency." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Look into it." Went down the rabbit hole and have been in the space pretty much ever since. And so it's been an amazing journey for sure.
Take us back to that though, Richard. Like that moment where it clicked for you. Yeah, I mean it's cool that you came across it through your work and whatnot. But like, what did that feel like? Can you sort of remember kind of the experience and what really took you aback?
Yeah. So I was very into like learning about technology at the time, especially like coming off the whole startup grind that I was through my entrepreneurship. And as I was starting to explore cryptocurrency, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the internet moment right now, because they always talk about Web 1.0 read, Web 2.0 read write. This was read write earn, and like the concept that people could have ownership in what you're building, creating with these companies made a lot of sense to me. But also it created a lot of financial tools that your everyday person couldn't have. So having a background in wealth management, like one of the things that saddened me about being in that space was there's a lot of tools and things in place for wealthy people to make more money. But not your everyday person has access to those resources, nor do they even have the information that certain financial tools are possible. And so cryptocurrency helped to provide access to everyone. And so it was just all about education. And then now, because the threshold to be able to take advantage of these opportunities was much smaller, it gave people the ability to do so much more. And like that it just made a lot of sense to me. And probably the other aha moment, I was talking to a friend that worked in oil and gas, and he was telling me how he was having to work overseas, and he would get paid in the local currency, but after he would have to send his money back home to the States to take care of his family, he would lose like almost 15 to 20% of his check because of fees. It would take a couple of weeks. It was a very slow and pricey concept. He then started turning his money into Bitcoin and would send it. It would go within a couple of minutes, and then they would just like basically put the Bitcoin into like local currency. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are actually using this. Like, so not only was it real and there was a use case, I was like, this like this is where the future is headed. And so that was kind of like my aha moments when cryptocurrency was like, yeah, this is the future.
I love that. Hey man, so I was checking out. Did you do a TED talk way back in the day?
I did. So
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? I thought there was some really cool takeaways from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. So 2016, I gave a TED talk that basically talked about my experience as being a student athlete, a dual sport athlete, and the rigors of having to like balance the schedule of a student athlete while also still being a student and still like just being a human, and like some of the core lessons I learned from some of my coaches, some of my mentors, from friends, and how I was able to basically manage those lessons and apply it to my life so I could like maximize my time. And so I, shout out to my friend. I was in the business fraternity Alpha Kappa Psi. He told me for like a year or two, like, hey man, you should apply this thing. You should apply. You should you're doing. I think you do a good job. And I finally did apply, got in, was able to do it. It's got like a ton of views. I've gotten some cool opportunities from it. But yeah, definitely recommend people go check that out.
Yeah, for sure. It was really good. And so I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about, 500 episodes, that's not something you hear every day, right? So you I think noticed a concerning trend. You noticed that a lot of, crypto talks were very technical, and they were either that or maybe get rich quick schemes, but nothing was right, like, nothing was there in terms of what you wanted. So how did you fill that gap? Like, take us through that journey of creating so many podcasts.
Yeah, so back in 2018, this is January, so Bitcoin goes from $18,000 all the way down to like $3. Ethereum goes down from 1,400 down to below 200, and there was a lot of pain that was in it, but I still saw it as a big opportunity. So as I was looking for content at that time, everything was like either get rich quick. There's like, here's how you get your moon bag, all that fun stuff, or super technical. And like I was just trying to find something that could dumb it down for myself, but also explain it in a way that anyone listening would be able to understand it and do something with it. So I figured, why not do it myself? So I created my own podcast called Cryptocurrent. And flash forward, I did over 300 episodes. I got to interview a lot of projects super early, which was awesome. So I got like alpha on a ton of different projects. I was able to like build relationships with a lot of these like founders and teams, help connect some dots, and also educate a lot of people along the way. My whole idea was, if I can talk to somebody and then like clearly communicate it back to them, whoever's listening could probably understand what's happening as well. And by understanding it, it then would make you confident enough to potentially want to take action. And so, yeah, it was a pretty amazing journey that like I was able to do that with my own show. And then I eventually joined up with a larger team, a company called Edge of Company. They're still around, Edge of Podcast, and came on to help them with events. And then eventually came on as one of the hosts of that show as well, and did, probably hundreds of more episodes. So all said and done, I've done over 500 episodes. I've now been able to like travel the world and talk to a lot of different people. That's how I got to meet you in Dubai. And it's been an awesome journey to just, educate people, be a connector of people, and then also to learn about new opportunities and let other people know where they should be paying attention.
Was it one of the top 25 podcasts at the time or something? That's what I was reading about. That's crazy, man. Like, there's thousands, millions, maybe of podcasts out there. So to be on that in that category is quite something. So I also came across another interesting detail about your story about when you were a young man selling, was it chocolate bars or something?
Yeah, it was one of the very first, basically like, how did I guess start my sale like entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
When growing up, you have like these fundraisers for the upcoming season, and so one of the very first fundraisers we had to do was like sell chocolate bars or whatever it was. And so I had to figure out how to hit my quota, if you will, but basically sell the chocolates in my box. So I had to come up with a strategy around like, here's what I would say, here's why like it's good, who am I going to talk to, like all this stuff, and kind of like that process of, having to figure that all out and then to go do it in person. It helped me become less of a shy person, because I used to be very shy. I used to be like, I did not like public speaking. Although I wasn't afraid to speak, I wouldn't just confidently go and talk to others out there. And it was like my first step into like, oh, I can actually do this. Like I can talk to people. I can, be personable. And like, yeah, it kind of just like started the journey into like what will eventually become like my role of what I've been doing in like business development now for over a decade.
From selling chocolate bars to being the enterprise account executive at Masari, right? What a ride! So for people who don't know about Masari, I know you shared a little bit at the top of it, but I mean, I kind of see it as the Bloomberg of crypto. Would that be the bad way to say it? Bringing transparency and market intelligence to the entire industry. What drew you to Masari? And how does this role fit into your broader mission?
What's interesting, I personally knew about Masari probably from like the beginning days, because I used to be on the newsletter subscription list for Unqualified Opinions, and it was really interesting to like take those takes at the time into consideration, and also starting to get some of the early research reports, because they went very deep and thorough into the research. And so I've kept up with the team. I've gone to a couple of events that they've had through the years, and have had some relationships with various people that were working there, but never like saw an opportunity to necessarily work directly with Masari. And so one of the things that happened in the last year or so is the shift to institution. So having come from TradFi, I knew that TradFi would eventually make its way back into the world of Web3, and that as that starts to happen, you really start to see larger market adoption and more opportunities for money to flow into the market. And I saw, with Bitcoin ETF starting to happen, some other ETFs, and more regulation and legislation become more favorable towards Web3, that we're headed towards the age of institutions coming into the space. And so I wanted to be part of a company that was going to be part of that bridge to make that happen. And so last year, there was an opportunity that came up with Masari. I applied, got it, and kind of came in and hit the ground running, and already working with a lot of different companies, working with a lot of institutions. And yeah, man, it's been a really awesome experience. The team at Masari, incredible, amazing humans, and our clients are awesome too.
You guys are based in New York mostly, or is it distributed? Okay.
Yeah, the team is fully remote. However, a good chunk of the team is in New York City. But yeah, we have people all over the place. Like myself, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, but we have colleagues that are in like California, New York, and even got one out in London. So we are dispersed.
So at Masari, you're selling enterprise level crypto intelligence, right, to institutions, protocols, DAOs. How do you approach those conversations differently than, let's say, a typical SaaS, given how fast the crypto landscape is changing?
It's interesting, because when you talk to a lot of people in the crypto space, most have heard of Masari and are familiar with our research reports, which are great and almost have been the industry standard for even where you see some of our competitors and how they do their reports are based on how we've basically been doing it for years. But what a lot of people don't know is that we have a tremendous amount of data outside of that. So when people come and the first conversation I have around Masari is like, hey, how familiar? When's the last time you've actually seen our platform? And a lot of people are like, well, maybe it's been a few months or it's been a year. And what's happening is that we are constantly adding new features. So we have what's called Copilot, which is our AI system, which is the most in-depth AI Web3 specific responses that you can get. We have like over 180 terabytes worth of data that we collected through the years, and we pair that with other LLMs and give you very definitive like responses back with that. But we also create these research reports. So if someone is trying to do due diligence on a project, in the same way that you would look at potentially like quarterly reports from your traditional Web2 companies, our artificial intelligence is able to help create those. As well as like bull and bear cases and comparisons, etc. We also have a feature called Signals, where if you're trying to find alpha, if you're trying to find opportunities, we basically have like market sentiment, where you can see what are people talking about over on X, and then see how it's trending over time. And then the biggest thing I'd say that people are really drawn to, we have the largest fundraising data in the market. So we have over 20,000 investment rounds that have happened. A lot of people are saying that, hey, like, it's hard right now to raise money, which it is. And you don't necessarily know who are the funds that are allocating money, but there's been over 100 investments in this space, like, to start the year. And like, we have all that data and we're constantly pulling it in. So for both the protocols who are trying to look for and understand who are the protocols that are investing, that's helpful. And then for the VCs, understanding like what are the pre-seeds that are out there. And if you invest in seed or later, you're like, oh, these are projects I should be analyzing, et cetera. So that data has also been extremely helpful. And we have so many other things, but I think those are probably the ones that people are very shocked by when I speak with them.
Very interesting. Hey, are you also co-hosting the Edge of show?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay, that was something you're doing in the past. Okay, so that show talked about Web3, AI, and blockchain. I'm just wondering, do you see, I don't know, like, is that where the whole ecosystem is going now? I mean, there's just so much buzz around AI. Just curious how you see the overlap between our world of blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin with this new exciting field of AI.
I think that there's a couple of ways to look at it. When you look at artificial intelligence and the boom that is here, I mean, there's a lot of LLMs that are constantly improving that blow my mind every day. I mean, even between what's happening with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, even Grok, the constant improvements that are being made there are just astounding. But when you pair that with what's happening over in Web3 with blockchain, you need a really good database that can, also have a level of permanence and that you can go back and track over time. And I think that they complement each other in a lot of ways. And I think there's a lot of self-economies that can be made by drawing the two platforms together. I think that what we're seeing that happened a little bit of last year, but like more in like 2024 towards the end, is that you saw this boom happen where like a lot of these AI companies just shot up and went crazy because everyone, like, that was the new thing. It was almost like the DeFi summer moment for AI. And a lot of those projects now, have fizzled as far as like, like their token price, but for what they're building and what they're trying to create, I think there is a lot of substance that's still there. And I think that brighter days are still ahead for what's to come with that. So I'm still very interested and have a lot of attention personally in the intersection of blockchain and AI. Also have a lot of interest in just the Bitcoin ecosystem itself. I think Bitcoin L2s are going to be very interesting. What's happening over with like ordinals as well. As much as we saw, like, people think that, NFTs are dead and it's had its moment, people still love art. People still love the ability to have other ways to express themselves in various ways. And in the Bitcoin ecosystem, they haven't really had that moment yet. So I think that's still going to be interesting, as well as this meme culture. Like, when you look at the meme coin culture between like what happened in Solana, what happened on Base, and a few of these others, that moment has not really happened yet with the Bitcoin ecosystem. So that's another area that I think would be very interesting itself. And again, everything I'm giving is not financial advice. These are things that I'm just curious about, things that I'm paying attention to. And I think there's, several other spaces as well, just like between RWA/deepen. Like, I think there's so much application and even large interest from your traditional companies that are looking into this space. So when I look at holistically, like where I'm looking at for opportunity, like those are the types of areas that I have a lot of interest in.
And you've spoken about this, right? This intersection of AI and blockchain, how they're essentially different paths to similar goals. Where do you see this convergence playing out most powerfully in the next, I don't know, let's say 5-10 years?
I think we are headed to a future where AI is able to offset a lot of jobs. For all of those people who watch the Super Bowl, there was a lot of artificial intelligence commercials that were coming. And one distinct one was a commercial where AI, or a guy was basically saying, hey, use this thing and like you have now more time to do whatever, which I think in a lot of ways had the opposite effect of what people, what they intended, which was like, oh no, like if it's really doing all this stuff, you don't have to work as hard, then that means, you don't need as many workers. And the future is people who leverage AI with their everyday job, and then people who don't. And for the people who are not leveraging artificial intelligence for their everyday job, they're going to get left behind in the same way that the first .com moment happened, where people started to use the internet and figuring that out, and starting to figure out like online ads, and starting to figure out other ways to reach mass faster. That's going to keep happening. And as that happens, you're still going to need these strong like databases and ecosystems that can uphold those AI like systems in place. And so that's why I think that convergence of like blockchain technology with what's happening with AI still makes sense, because man, I think, you know, just looking very into the future, there becomes a world where AI can do so much that we need something like a universal basic income. And if that happens, you need crypto. You need some sort of blockchain ecosystem that can support that AI types of payments and schedule. And a lot of that infrastructure is being figured out in the background while we're potentially headed towards that future. So, that is like where my mind goes first. But I think there's a lot of other types of use cases as well.
Awesome, man. Richard, that was a lot of fun, man. Hey, maybe let's finish on this one. So if you were talking to Richard from, let's say, 5 years ago, maybe before you got into Bitcoin and whatnot, what advice would you give yourself? Or if there's someone listening that's maybe in your position as you were 5 years ago, how would you coach them through it?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'd say is one, take profit. Number two, for the projects that you truly believe in, hodl. And for the ones that are like more risky and you're like, whatever, again, just take the profit. But I wouldn't give too much other advice, because it could, deter the path, if you will. But I think that create your convictions, test them, and then pivot. Just be willing that if you have a conviction in a certain way and then you see that it's wrong, it's okay to be wrong. Just pivot.
I love it. I love it. Richard, where do people learn more about you? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn, and then maybe just share Messari's website as well?
For sure. So on X, Richard Carthon, same thing on LinkedIn. Pretty much, you can put my name in anything, you'll find me. And then for Messari, it's just Messari.io, and then you can find all that out. And if you want to learn more about Messari ever, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for checking in. Yeah, we'll until next time. Cheers.
Thank you, Sonny.